So that combination, I'm like, okay, if this is coming out of the body, how human can this be? You know, a little bit, that's why we say that the female avis might have a hybrid nature. Yeah, by the way, there you see Katy. You see? She's lying here in this circle. Katy, hi there.
Here I am.
So between 2018 and 2019, I have conducted 3 female farms in total. The next farm will happen in March 2021 during pandemic times. So the first one we conducted here in collaboration with Marta and also Dalila Honorato, who curated this farm. We did it in Cultivamos Cultura in São Luís, Portugal. So the whole farm was installed in this barn that used to be an olive oil barn. And it's located in Odmira, Portugal, so it's in the countryside, right? So the idea there was to explore what would it mean to make the farm in this context, and also in a kind of traditional area in Portugal that is populated mostly by farmers, right?
Yeah.
Then the second farm, I did it, I mapped it out between 2 historical buildings in Amsterdam. One of them is the VAG, Science and Technology, and the other one is the Teterode. The Teterode building used to be a building where they were making the typos for the typing machines. And so here we were kind of like stretching the limits of the historical imprint in buildings that have relevance for the local community. So for example, the VAG, there is at the top a room where the first surgical classes in Europe were performed. And this painting that was painted by Rembrandt, which is called Anatomy Lesson, is based on a scene that happened in that building. In that room, in a space that is called the Theatricum Anatecomium. And so it was really interesting because we had access to practice the farming practices in the same room where these surgeries were performed in the past. And what's super interesting to know is actually what you see in this painting is the teacher opening the body of this dead person and all the students sitting around the body, is to know that actually the dead body is a criminal that they killed for this lesson. And this is the beginning of kind of the Western opening of the body towards naming the inner parts. So for me, yeah, that made it really relevant to bring the farm into the same space where these kind of things were performed, and maybe think on writing new history chapters in regards to understanding of our bodies. Then the third farm, we did it in Mediamatic, also in Amsterdam. Mediamatic is located in front of the Museum Art of the Science Museum, and in front of a military base. And what you see at the back it looks like a barn, but what it actually is the space where they were constructing waterlogs. So you know Amsterdam is full of canals, and you have all these waterlogs that regulate the height of the waters in order to have boat passage. And so this barn is where these waterlogs were constructed. So, and the train was passing just at the back. So this was, I would say, like pure urban farming experience. Also because what you see there, you have the barn where it says Mediamatic, and then in front, you have these little greenhouses. And these greenhouses, we use them in the farm, and they are actually the ejaculation hubs. I will show you in a minute. And between the barn and the ejaculation hubs, there is a little street. So there were passerbys. So it's the first time that we make a farm that is semi-public. And so it was a little bit researching on that level, no? And then we have the forthcoming, which will be in Brussels in a space called Radical House that is located steps away from the European Commission in a very bourgeois neighborhood, and it's a real house. It has been transformed though into receiving performance or contemporary art practices. So let's see what will turn out of that experience. Because as I said, it's quite a snob area and the farm is quite loud. So let's see what will happen. So far out of all these experiences, out of these 3 farms, we have developed a total of 14 different products and developed 3 different lines with them. So the products are organized in families. So we have face care products, we have body care products, we have cleansers and masks, we have body and face scrubs, and we have well-being. And what you see here is a photo that forecasts the DIY aesthetics that I have been using to make the project known. But we are right now moving into a next stage, which is actually upgrading the aesthetics of the products in order to sell them. Because as I said in the beginning, once the farm is over, then I open up a spa. And the spa is where we receive the general public, and the general public interacts with all these products. And what's been happening is that they have been asking to buy the products. And so we're currently like busy in what you see there, which is finding the aesthetics that can help us sell this, and also at the same time make it accessible but luxurious, no? In a way. We were gonna get there towards the end on the notion of luxurious. So I don't have these products, I don't have them with me right now because they're currently being exhibited in Rampa Lab, which is part of the Kapelica Gallery in Ljubljana. But here I wanted to show you a closer look, right? So here you get an idea of like where we're heading to. One thing that is very important is that how do we come to having 14 different products? When I started this project, I had only 5 products. And every time we do a farm, we have feedback from the participants and the number of products are growing. So for example, here at the bottom, I don't know if you get to see with the video line, but here there's the virgin balm. You see on the right-hand corner.
Yes, we see.
And this one is the newest product. We created it with the last farm and it's called Virgin Balm. Here I have the DIY one. And we actually made it with a fluid that I hadn't thought about because we actually had a virgin in the last farm and she did not want to do anything related to having something in the vagina, not to say penetration, because we're trying also to figure out another word for that. But so that you imagine, she resisted employing some of the tools that we offer. So finally, she ended up really rehearsing, researching on her own labia. And yes, of course, there is this antibacterial kind of crust that grows in between the labia. And she started collecting that. And so we added that fluid to the list of fluids that we're working with. And then we created the virgin balm in tribute to the antibacterial properties that are present in this crust that actually grows when you don't shower. The people find it a bit disgusting, but in the end, it is there.
It's funny.
For protecting your vagina, right? So as of the lines, as you can see here, so for the first farm, we have a name, right? A name for the line. And we're calling it the Gina Bliss Deep Eruption. You have to understand that this happened in summer. Portugal is quite hot, so we had a lot of eruption going on. Then the second farm is the Oh Gloria Wild Spirit. Oh Gloria is really like in relationship to Christmas time. We were really like, oh Gloria, like on Christmas. And then the third line for the last farm is called Hi Babe, Mystic Bondage. So actually what happened is that we had an incredible difference between ages. We had women close to 60 and we had women close to 19. And so the bond age that was created was pretty particular, and that's how we ended up putting that name. So let me share with you the Beauty Kit Spa before we get to the products. So once the farm is over, we open up a spa where the public comes and they become entangled with the whole process of transformation that has been archived in the products.
Hello?
So what kind of treatments do we offer? We have a self-facial abduction. So we have gathered 4 products together and we have a protocol. And so you can follow the protocol and apply it on your skin and really experience the benefits. I have designed, this is important, I have designed this project, the spa, with a friend of mine. She's an artist and she's an esthetician, and her name is Lorena Gasmuri. And it turns out that for the past 4 years, before I met her 2 years ago, she has been running a spa and she studied natural cosmetics. So with her, we've really been kind of working on the, okay, how do we gather this kind of treatments that can assure like a real outcome for the skin. So this is one of the treatments that we offer. We call the treatments abductions, because you're kind of like being abducted by the effects of the fluids on your face. So there you see a woman putting, I think is the nourishing face cream that you will also try in a minute. Then we have the orgasmic steam bath abduction, and this is incredible. It's basically it's a Chinese bath, and we have a steam that we make with the G-spot ejaculation. And so you basically get naked in the spa behind like a little changing room, and then you put a bathrobe, and then you walk through the gallery and you enter this space and your whole body is being steamed. And then you receive a facial treatment at the same time. Hi. Then we have the collective amniotic abduction. This is a treatment that it occurred to me because a friend of mine, who I'm sure most of you know, Mary Magic, she gave birth and we coordinated online how she could possibly harvest the waters when she was giving birth. And so that's what we did. And since then, I've been using this product to offer the collective amniotic abduction. And that's also, I would say, the beginning of our kind of posting experimentation that is starting to happen a lot lately in this project, because actually she collected the water in her bathroom in Austria and she sent it via the post. And then of course it got lost. But then it eventually arrived after 15 days, and because it's such a strong bodily fluid, I will explain in a minute, you will see why, it arrived intact. It's incredible. So there we have another line, which we're calling the rainbow line, which are all the fluids that are donated by females that don't necessarily come to the farm, but they do stuff at home and then they donate to the farm. We're calling that the rainbow line. And then we have a hands abduction. So it's basically a treatment with clitoral ejaculation milk for the hands, and also with a sugarcane exfoliant that contains sun-dried menstrual blood. So that's what she's doing there. She's applying that treatment and those 2 products on the hand of this person. Okay, so for today. So I would like that you all those that have the package, right? If you could open the package and get the products out of the bag. There, I thought it was nice to share this photo with Roberta here, because actually what we're doing today is really like, it's been a process of co-thinking together. So this is what you have most probably received. So this is Roberta packaging the products in Toronto. And this is me sending them from my hotel in Slovenia, because I did not have the time to send the products from Brussels. So I had to go to Slovenia, and so I sent it from the hotel. And so she then packed them. And this is what you have right now. So it's very important for you to understand that what we're doing here today is not a joke. As I said at one point, I have been doing my best to find out about the nutritious properties of more than 23 fluids that exit the vagina. Most of them you can find in internet, actually, especially the ones related to being fertile. And those of which I did not find information, such as the fluids that are associated to the sexual agency of the female body. So everything that has to do with female ejaculation, there is little information from a scientific perspective, but I found most information in regards to female ejaculation from Eastern perspective. So Taoism and Tantra, and also some indigenous. And the same thing goes for the menopause and the post-menopause body. So there's a little bit of a scientific gap concerning female pleasure and the female aging. Like there's not so much interest from the scientific community in understanding what these fluids contain. So I would like to start sharing with you a little bit the nutritious properties of what you have in your hands. And I would like to start with the revitalizing with the vitality capsules. So you all have a little container, maybe you can take it out.
Would be okay if we show the whole screen with everybody with the container.
Let me see.
There you go.
Very nice. So what I want you to do is to take a look at it closely and observe how the minerals are shining. It's incredible. You can actually, like if you have a light and you bring it close to the light and you move,
Wow.
you're able to see how the minerals shine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't
So,
go that far enough.
I hear,
Wow.
I hear something at the back. Where is that coming from? Okay, never mind. Now it's gone. Okay, sorry. So let me go back to the presentation so I can share with you the properties of what you have in your hand. So
I saw you.
we make these pills with sun-dried menstrual blood, right? Most of you know menstrual blood. That's how it looks when it's when we collect it at the farm. And menstrual blood contains fairly potent stem cells, and also the 3 primary micronutrients that are used in the classical recipe for an earth fertilizer, which is known as the NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The stem cells...
No iron?
This, yeah?
No iron?
Iron also, of course.
Okay.
Iron is part of blood.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And and of course it contains proteins, but I want to point out these 2 main. The stem cells that are present in menstrual blood are extremely plastic. In the past, science has been using stem cells coming from dead fetuses and from umbilical cords to develop different treatments to treat different diseases. And they have recently found out that actually it doesn't need to be so invasive, and that they can actually use the menstrual blood stem cells instead of from a dead fetus and from an umbilical cord because they are very similar. So we know that stem cells have the capacity of becoming any other cell in the body, but the ones coming from menstrual blood can do it in a very fast speed and in a very accurate way. And so they're currently developing therapies to treat Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, heart attacks, brain strokes, spinal cord injuries, you name it. So when I read that information, of course, before drying the blood, I started drinking the blood. Because it's basically, in a way, a boost up for the immune system. That was my direct interpretation, and I started experimenting with myself. And then when I found out about certainly from ancestral traditions and from indigenous perspectives, they have been using the blood to fertilize the earth, and which is something that has become kind of like known right now. There are a lot of women actually collecting their blood and irrigating their plants at home. So the three components that make up an earth fertilizer are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And let me just quickly share with you what each one means for the body, right? If you would take this, what it means. So nitrogen is the main factor in the creation of proteins that influence growth, hormonal production, brain functions, and the immune system. Phosphorus is a source of phosphate that helps create and manage energy, synthesize protein, fat, carbohydrates. It is also part of the function of muscle contraction and muscle relaxation. Balances body fluids and the electrolytes and helps the body utilize the B vitamin system. And then potassium is an electrolyte that helps to maintain the blood pressure healthy, balance body acid, and control the electrical activity of the heart and other muscles. So it's a pretty powerful pill you have here, right? Another thing that I find extremely interesting is the indigenous vision, which has to do with the notion of invigorating your blood lineage that results in having a grounding effect. So what does that mean? There's a belief that because this blood is coming out of the womb, it contains the memory of the womb. So by drinking this, you're linking yourself to those that came before you and also to those that will come after you, even if you don't give birth. It's more like on a symbolic level, let's say. And that in turn has a grounding effect because it has to do with the notion of identification. So you fortify your identity by connecting yourself to those that came before you. And so that's why also in these Eastern traditions that I have mentioned, they have also been drinking the menstrual blood. So we send it to you, and I would like to invite you to actually take it. I don't know if anybody is willing to do so. Maybe somebody is willing to take it. Yes, Elena? Did you take it?
You did it! Yes!
Yes.
Tara also?
I didn't want to leave. I wanted water, but I managed without water.
Oh.
Yay!
Here's something.
And how do you feel?
Like someone who's just taken a pill.
It's
So
not
you
that.
let me know if you sleep tonight, okay?
Will do, yes.
Because it does have an energizing and a vitalizing effect.
Okay, we'll go
I
right
have a
into my next class.
Yeah.
I have a minor question.
Yes.
When I first got this package, I actually, since I don't know much about any beauty concepts at all, I thought it was an exfoliating compound a little bit. I didn't know you had to orally take it. Could it be applied in other ways besides orally?
But yes. I mean, we have all the body scrubs and the face scrubs that we have, they are done with microgranulated sun-dried menstrual blood.
What is microgranulated?
When you,
like, how do you manage to?
It's when you smash. So you smash. So you dry the blood, then you collect it, and then you smash it, like with the same instrument you smash garlic, you know. But you smash it really, really. You can make it really, really fine also. So when we do it really fine, we say microgranules, you know. The ones that you have here are not the finest. Here you can still see the kind of the shining of the minerals, because when you smash it really a lot to make the granules super, super little, it really looks like earth. It's incredible. I mean, I have here, I don't know if you get to see, but like when you smash it, you are like, oh my God, I'm really made of earth. I don't know if you get to see.
We are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
And now I can take the pill.
Yeah.
It tastes a little bit like the perfume that you put that you put in the other products, because they've been together.
Can I ask if there is if you make a difference between what part of the cycle is the blood harvested from? Like usually the blood looks very different at the beginning of your cycle, the middle of your cycle, at the end.
Yeah, and there are also certain beliefs around the blood, but we decided in the farm to just collect the blood at any point and use the blood for all the products. We're not actually separating them for specific products. Although of course, the consistency of the blood changes. And at one point also the ovule that was not fecundized exits. So it creates like some kind of a cluster. But there are divergent beliefs. And the only ones that are talking about this are mostly indigenous people. And we decided just not to make the difference, actually. Yeah.
Oh, well.
So feel free to ask if anybody has questions in regards to this product, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we can move forward. Yes?
Something, Billy, and everyone asks you the same thing, but I'm just concerned about like safety, right? Because there's so many diseases that we communicate through the blood, because otherwise we just take it gladly, right? You're saying this has so many properties. Why would people resist, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why the one that we are offering is the one that contains sun-dried menstrual blood. I'm not having any product at this moment with liquid menstrual blood, because by drying the blood, you allow the water to exit, and the bacteria or whatever is there goes with the evaporation. It doesn't stay. So what really remains here is more these mineral properties that I described. Yeah.
I wonder if there's a link between like harvesting periods and say like phases of the moon, or if you've read about that somewhere.
Sorry, what?
I wonder if there's a link between the harvesting period and phases of the moon. Can you hear me, Howard?
Yeah, I do. There's like ambient noise from somewhere. Yeah. Sometimes, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but sometimes the female body has a tendency to menstruate closer to full moon or closer to the new moon, most of the females. And then there are perspectives that kind of explain the different psychic potencies that are emerging in these moments, because when you are when your body's producing more blood, it's resonating also to whether the full moon is there or the growing moon is there. There is a different relationship and another aspect of your character that comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was thinking about it in terms of like, say, when it comes to like tea harvests, like green tea, and you know, they're gonna take it at like really certain periods of time, and there's like different harvests like based on like, you know, the phases of the year. And I was thinking like we could approach perhaps like something a little bit analogous with like moon phases.
Yeah, but that would be a farm. That farm will take a whole month, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you will see when we come to the cream, because we are so working like when there is menstruation, but also when there is no menstruation. And we're also harvesting that. Yeah.
Sweet, thanks.
Isabel, I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for this.
Okay.
I'm sorry I won't be able to stay any longer. It's almost 8:30 and we haven't had dinner yet here. So it's about time.
Bueno, I'll see you another time, Marta.
Mwah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Marta.
Bye.
By the way, magically YouTube started working. So
Yeah. Very close to the
I have no idea why this happened.
I
It
would
happened the same on Tuesday. So
Okay. Let's
Bye,
move.
Marta.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna go now into the next. Yes, one important thing. It will be nice to remain in contact with you, and please tell me how you feel about taking the pill. Like those that did not take it, like if you take it, it will be interesting to know. And those that took it today, if you want to share after, like if indeed you were able to sleep or not, that would be great to kind of like do a little bit of the follow-up, you know? So,
sorry, Isabel, do you have some specific expectations, like from the what might happen, or from previous tries? Or it could be with regards to, so are there a range of expectations, or does it matter whether we know? Actually, maybe as experiment subject, we shouldn't know what to expect.
exactly.
Okay, we'll keep notes.
Yeah,
We'll keep a journal.
No, yeah. I mean, what I know is like in the last workshop I gave, that is one thing that happened, that they were not able to sleep actually for 2 days.
Oh, okay.
You know, when
Great.
I go through processes of taking it, and when I take it, indeed, it gives you a lot of energy, you know? So this, but I'm interested to see, because it might provoke a different thing in each one, you know? So I want to move now to the little bottle that you have, which is the number 2, which is the clarifying mist. And the clarifying mist is the 7 times filtered G-spot moisture collected at full body orgasm. Yeah, what you see here, it's there are clients in the spa, and people love to spray each other in the spa. It happens a lot, you know? So basically this is a couple and she's spraying, or they're friends and she's spraying him, you know? So this is female G-spot ejaculation. That is what this product contains. I'm sharing this photo. It comes from the first farm, actually. You can see actually that we have harvested female ejaculation with orgasm and without orgasm. So where it's written orgasm is how the G-spot ejaculation looks like. And the one with the number is how ejaculation looks like without an orgasm. And as you can see, there's a slight difference in the color. Like one is a bit more pineapple-ish than the other. And I'm just sharing that with you because I find it very interesting, and it's also something that we discovered in the farm. So why am I making this product and using this fluid? to explain that, I have to go through this notion of the 3 gates to orgasm and ejaculation that comes from the Chinese perspective. So the Chinese medicine perspective says that there are 3 gates that can produce ejaculation in the female body. So it's not only about 1 ejaculation, but it's about 3. And of course, there are much more. And in every farm, we're also discovering more ejaculations. But as a reference point, we took the Chinese perspective. So you have the first gate to orgasm and ejaculation, which is the clitoris. Then the second is G-spot. And then the third one is the cervix at the end of the vagina. So by now, I imagine that most of you know how the clitoris looks. So when you stimulate the clitoris, this can happen. This is called female ejaculate. And it actually exits through the skin gland. So you stimulate the clitoris, and this milk exits through this little opening. Then the third gate to orgasm and ejaculation is the cervix at the end of the vagina. And I've been looking around, and I was not able to find any picture that would show how it looks. And then finally, one of the farm facilitators, after one of the farms was over, called me on the phone and told me, I have the photo for you. And this is how it looks. So this is how the female ejaculation, cervical ejaculation would look like. It's a little bit like a cheese. And you could put it in the bread, you know. And then we have the second gate, which is the G-spot ejaculation, right? So the G-spot is a collection of glands located at the entrance of the vagina, at the upper entrance of the vagina, that when you stimulate it, it can produce large amounts of water, right? And this is more or less how a female ejaculation from the G-spot would look like. So it's actually thanks to pornography that the notion of squirting may generally know that there is the G-spot ejaculation coming from the female body. Because for a long time, the scientific community was not interested in looking at this at all. Because actually what happens is that when you stimulate the G-spot area and you are ejaculating, you're actually ejaculating through the urethral opening. And so for many years, they thought that it was pee-pee, and they never analyzed what it contained. But finally, they did a few experiments in France, and this is not long ago. This is like 5 years ago. And they put a group of women and they made them ejaculate, and then they analyzed what it contained. And the problem is that up until the date is not yet completely clear, because, here, what happens is you stimulate here, right? So the G-spot, and then the bladder, which is an empty space in the body, it makes sense, gets filled up with these waters that exit through the same channel where you pee. The thing is that what they found in the components is a mix between the ejaculate, so the milk that comes out through the clitoris, in combination with the waters that exit through the urethral opening. So the research is not actually really accurate, and it's not really well done. They didn't even bother into separating, like, so what is the water part of the ejaculation? So what's really coming from the G-spot stimulation and what's really coming from the clitoral milk? So when you do the research, it's super confusing to understand. But then thanks to the farm, we've been able to kind of like observe and understand, you know, that when a female is producing a G-spot ejaculation, is also at the same time producing the milk from the clitoris. And so this color that you see in the bottle that I showed you is actually a mix between these waters and this milk. And so what does it contain? And I'm just going to go a bit quick because, it contains prostate-specific antigen, which is the same component as semen, which is pure collagen, and is there to help nourish the sperms, right? Navigate it helps keep the sperms alive. This is what prostate-specific antigen is. And so from feminist perspective, they're arguing that the G-spot should be called the female prostate because it produces this fluid that contains the same component as semen, no? So when this is on your face, what happens is that it regenerates the epidermis and it helps close the cracks of the wrinkles, right? Like it's really pure collagen. It also contains creatinine, and creatinine is an organic acid that plays a key role in supplying energy for muscle cells during intense activity. So this is what the athletes take for an optimal kind of muscle performance. And it's also what the bodybuilders are taking for tonifying their muscles. So when you put it on their face, it tonifies the muscles of the face. Then it has a
Isabel, do you know if the creatine is related to D-aspartic acid? Because that's another one that is used in bodybuilding, drink mixes and things like that.
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's all about building muscle cells.
Yeah, the keratin, yes. Yeah.
The D-aspartic, D-aspartic amino acid, which is it's a non-endogenous amino acid. Yeah. I'll have to look it up, the relationship between creatine.
Okay, cool. And then you let me know.
Yes.
Super. So it also contains glucose, which is a single sugar. And this is basically what the body needs to function. Like without glucose, like most of the bodily systems will not work. So it's like a pure energy source, glucose. So when you put it on your face, it kind of energizes your skin. And then finally, it contains fructose, which is a natural sugar. And when you taste fructose, it's actually sweet. So the Tantra, for example, the Tantric people have been drinking the G-spot ejaculation. And this famous notion of they call it Amrita, which is the nectar of the goddess. And so basically what this thing that you have in front of you, this little bottle that we sent, by applying it on the face, it will regenerate, tonify, energize, sweeten, moisture, and hydrate your face, reducing skin dryness. I have here one, so I don't have the newest kind of version of it, but I have like what I've been showing so far. And so we send it over, and also the same, please, let me come back. So the idea is that you can also test it on you. So if you would like to spray it and see, because it really has a very interesting effect, smell-wise. It contains different layers, and you actually get to smell the body. It's very powerful.
Actually, I see a lot of comments, and like there's a whole chat that is happening right now with a lot of questions, a lot of comments that are absolutely brilliant. So we should set aside a little bit of time to talk about it. It's amazing.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So
we're also having comments from Facebook, but I will tell you later.
Okay.
Lots of people interested.
Great. Yeah, so this is a little bit the idea. So for you to have it with you, and if you don't feel like putting it on today, put it after if you want. What I'm super interested about this one is on the kind of the side effect it has, because friends of mine that have used it and they go out, a lot of things can happen. I tell you.
Sweet.
So also, if you could feed me back there. So who else put it? Roberta, you put it. Who else did now?
I did.
So we have Elena and Sarah again. Great. And Reka, yeah. Okay. Any questions concerning like the fabrication of this product?
Yeah, I think there were lots of comments. I don't know if someone wants to bring them up because probably Isabel could not read the comment.
Let's wait for the comments because otherwise we're not gonna make it on time.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the end.
Yeah, let me just quickly show you because maybe it's in relationship, I don't know, to the questions that you're getting, but I will just show you like how we harvest this. So I will like to share my room actually with you. So I don't know if you get to see. So that's my bed. And here you can see how we harvest the G-spot ejaculation in the farm. So basically a participant ejaculates and it's deposited in this metal flask. I don't know if you see, it's because there is a bit of ejaculation. And these are the stimulating tools. And then what we do is we put it in this container. So we pour what you saw in the metal, we pour it in this bottle. And then we freeze it. So there you get a little bit of an idea of like, in case somebody in the chat is asking, that's how we collect it. So we stimulate and then we collect. This back.
I wonder about microbial populations. Like what happens when they go through the freezer or how they like contribute to the properties of this mist.
But what do you mean, like like on an infection level or on a productive level?
Oh, just like the natural like bacterial flora, right, that we have, which I think is also different from a person to the other, right? Like we don't have the same like just like natural bacteria, and yeah, I was wondering about that and like how it was playing out in the composition of the mist. Like maybe it, you know, there's some of it that imparts some of the smell, the perfume that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So it would add on to this like a hybrid nature of the product, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I thought that you were asking more like in regards to contamination and things like this, because that's a question I get often, you know?
Oh, no, that's not what I had in mind. It was more like, I feel like there's like, you could have like different formulations depending on like different microbiomes from like different women.
What happens? But that's super interesting because of course, every woman has a different smell somehow. But at the same time, it's very similar. So it's really like this plant thing, you know, as like programmed too. Because when we bottle the G-spot for making the product, like, yeah, we're mixing it with tea tree oil and vitamin E for bacterial growth prevention and for preserving it. Mm-hmm. But it does have a similar smell in the end, like even if we are working with different bodies to make the product, you know, the products. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice, thanks.
Anybody?
So you use tea tree oil just because there were some questions, right, about sanitizing it and then also preserving it, like what's its lifespan because it's an organic product. Like I ended up with a whole bunch of argan oil, and I was really excited because everybody was giving it to me because somehow they don't want it, but then it just rots, right? It has, so then it's expired.
Well, they are bioproducts, and so they do have a limited life with treatment only with natural ingredients. And what we take a lot of care of is when we collect. So when we harvest the fluids, how do we immediately freeze them? So they come out of the body and we put glycerin into them, so to help it preserve, also in the freezing and in the posterior defreezing, you know. But it's one of the premises of saying we know because we're accepting women that could possibly have STDs in the farm. Like for us, the most important thing is for someone to learn the bioautonomous human farming system. But we do know, because we have a questionnaire, who has STDs. And so for those that have STDs, what we do with the fluids is we put them, we still freeze them and everything, but we don't use them to make products. So we are making the products, really making sure that, because in this questionnaire, they're providing, quite personal information that I actually need to know, you see? So I make sure that when I share this with the public, I'm not gonna be, creating something we don't want, And so, yes, we take the whole fluid and we put the whole fluid there. We're not separating. Like we're not going through the process of like separating process-specific antigen from glucose. We're just putting the whole thing. Yeah. All right. So let me just go now to the last product that you have there, which is the Nourishing Face Cream, which is cervical collagen collected at full ovulation. Here you see another spa person, is somebody from the public in the spa, and he's about to put the cream on his face. And the one at the back is a little bit, what the hell is going on? But we get these contrasts, right, in the spa. It's incredible how people react. But I would say 70% of the audience really stays and goes beyond their own barriers, So this is how the ovulation looks like. And this is what that cream contains. So you can have it with you. And I will also explain why do we make this. So in the farm, we are harvesting menstruation. We're harvesting sexual fluids. We're harvesting postmenopause fluids, and also everything associated to the fertility cycle. And so this is a little bit what you see here. And all of this we harvest in different containers like this. So at the bottom you have ovulation. Right after ovulation you have premenstruation. Premenstruation, then you have menstruation, then you have post-menstruation, and then you have pre-ovulation. And all these fluids have different properties. But the one that is the most interesting for making a nourishing face cream is the one from ovulation. Because when I was thinking on this product, I had recently heard that in many cultures, in rural areas around the world, they are harvesting the waters coming from a mother that gives birth, the amniotic water. So here you have the baby, you have the amniotic sac, and the baby is floating in the amniotic waters. And they have been harvesting this water to make home products, especially for treating burns, because it has a faculty like you burn, or actually you cut yourself and you put a little bit of this fluid, and in about 2 days, the skin regenerates. And then when you think of it, it kind of makes sense, because the water is there to sustain the growth of a baby. So to sustain the hair growth, the skin growth, the tooth growth, the eyelashes growth, the nail growth. So if you think then to apply that into a beauty product, it makes a lot of sense. So since I haven't been pregnant, I was not able myself to collect the waters for making a product. then I started further researching to find out that actually the fluid that we are producing when we're ovulating has the same properties as the amniotic fluid. And so that's how I ended up creating the Nourishing Face Cream, which is the one that you have now in your hands. And so that you get an idea, it contains electrolytes, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids and phospholipids, a little bit of PP. Sorry, that's the amniotic waters. And most importantly, collagen. And collagen, which I've been mentioning today, is a pure protein, a major component in forming your body's tendons, ligaments, muscles, and cartilage. That's why it's so valued in the beauty industry. Yeah. So the lotion that you have repairs the skin and renews it, keeps it firm and elastic, smooth, young, and glowing. So go ahead. Put it on.
Maybe here.
Yeah, completely.
I tried this on a few days ago and it was actually my favorite of the three.
Oh,
I
good.
was having some skin irritation that day and it actually like soothed it really well.
Oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, this cream
Yeah.
is fantastic.
It does.
It smells lovely too.
Yeah, it smells so good.
Yeah, so let me know, like if you decide, because you have a little bit, I guess, like if you use it every day for at least a week or so, in this container that you got.
Do you have an email address that we could
Yes.
like if we use it every day for a week and have like a cool result, can we send it to you?
Yes, I will share it at the end of the presentation. I have a slide with the email and you can take a screenshot.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I can also put her in touch with you. The email that I send to everybody has also Isabel's email too.
Super.
Does anybody have a question in regards to how we make this product?
Yeah, I think there were a couple of comments there about not so much about how you make the products, but how you mass produce them, or whether it is possible to mass produce them, because like a lot of us are thinking, and we've been talking about this before with you, but so it's so this type of project has a lot of potentials that are like anti-capitalist. It's a feminist project, and so many other really important things that should be made to highlight the situation of mass consumerism, the situation that of exploitation of the pharmaceutical companies, etc. But then, like, is it ever possible to mass produce it? And if it gets mass produced, how long is it gonna take before it gets appropriated by capitalism?
You know what, to tell you the truth, I think it's already happening.
Yeah.
You go to like in Amsterdam, there's this incredibly expensive cosmetic shops, and one product is about 2,000 euros. And they don't give specifics on like what are they doing to produce it actually. And so I really don't know. I mean, the way in which I share it is thinking like on a circular economy model, because the participants that come are for 7 days learning the bioautonomous female farming system, going through a process of body knowledge and transformation, and they donate their fluids in the end. It's an exchange, let's say. So they donate their fluids so that we can manufacture the products, so the products can be sold, so that the farm can continue happening. I've had this discussion about the mainstream kind of industry logics, and some people say that there's no way they're gonna do this, you know? But some others say, yeah, but there is a way. They can maybe go to Africa and start exploding, But I mean, like they have been already using the placenta in the 50s. The placentas were taken from women without being asked. and it's happening until the date. And it's very funny when you do a little bit of research, you look and it was advertised as such. It's human placenta products. And the women that were giving these placentas out had no clue about it. And I'm sure this is happening on many bodily levels that we're not aware of. So it is interesting that the question comes, but I cannot really answer it, you know, I don't know. And also, if somebody sees this project and gets the idea about it, I wouldn't know what to do. You know what I mean? Because for me, at this point, it's more relevant to exchange and to think on, yes, exactly, labor and production and like, what are we consuming and how are we consuming? Because do you ever think that when you're drinking the milk of the cow might be having a bodily effect at the same time? Which is a huge question that I'm interested from the farm participants, like if they actually feel when a person is intaking or putting their fluid in their face, or has their life actually changed after the farm, you know? So it's a question of like thinking, what is the object of exploitation and how can this object not be exploited, but rather be treated with pleasure, which is what happens in the spa. Like you see the costumers, they come, and as I said, like 80% that decides, about 75% decides to stay, and they overcome kind of like their blockages in relationship to female fluidity, and they actually enter in an orgasmic state. The spa for me is a work about pleasure, because it's incredible to see how liberating it is for someone to say, hey, I'm gonna do something I'm not allowed to do. I'm gonna put, you know, G-spot ejaculation on my face. And kind of like in that gesture of openness, actually what they're doing is that they're putting the memory of a process in their face, and that's creating also pleasure. So it's about how are we producing and how are we consuming? Because if you also consume from another way of understanding what pleasure is, because this is how they have all of us caught up in consumerism, right? Because they're constantly playing with seduction and pleasure, but they're pointing at our weaknesses. So it's also that question, no? Can we do the reverse? Can we point not at the weaknesses, but at the strengths?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I believe there was also a comment. There were also comments about like exploitation, not just of a human body, but also exploitation of animals, like how many products are made with animal parts. And yeah, I was thinking, well, I'm taking collagen for my arthritis. I'm taking the birth control pill. I'm taking all sorts of other products, and like they're all coming from all sorts of animals. So it's interesting looking at the issue of exploitation, appropriation, and who gets to enjoy certain products.
Yeah, but definitely yes. I mean, what I'm showing you is that we can possibly create a sustainable world based on the human as a territory for agriculture. So we stop exploding other species, basically, because the mess that we have today, you know, we have surpassed the capacity of the earth to self-recycle itself, you know, like we've abused so much what the earth can produce that we really have to start thinking of new ways of production and of course of new economy models, you know. So it is a work on recycling what is considered waste so far, because most of you here are females and know what it is to be a woman, and in regards to your own fluidity and the taboo there is around it up until today. Actually, people are much more interested in semen. Even from scientific research, art perspectives. There's a project with semen, we put money, you know, but where there has to be with, okay, so what's going on with the postmenopause body? How come there's no scientific research on the fluidity that the postmenopause body is producing? It's treated as a bacterial infection, you know? Yeah, but anyway, let me just quickly get to the last point before, because we're a little bit late. So just let me share with you quickly, like what are the fluids that we've been looking into, and they total up to 23. So we have the daily fluids, daily moisture, and the daily protecting wax, the one that we use for the virgin bone. Then those ones pertaining to the ovulatory cycle. So this image I showed you. So the ovulation, pre-ovulation, premenstruation, and post-menstruation. Then you have menstrual blood, and then you have the post-menopause, which is the yellow cream. And we're calling these fluids everyday fluids in the farm, kind of like the daily fluids. So the fluids that are coming out of the body without the need of stimulating yourself. Then we have the ejaculations, the sexual specific fluids. These are the sex fluids, so the natural lubricant and the arousal fluid. And then we have the ejaculations, which are the three ones I shared with you, but in one farm we also found a fourth. Maybe Roberta can tell you a little bit about that one day. And this we harvest in the farm in the ejaculation hubs, we call them. And then there is the birth-specific fluids. Unfortunately, we haven't yet done that in the farm, but it would be incredible to eventually have like women giving birth and harvesting everything. So you have the pregnant specific, which is a progressive moisture, and then you have the birth specific. So those that have been pregnant maybe know more about this, but it's the cervix plug, the amniotic liquid, the amniotic sac, the placenta umbilical cord, and then the vernix caseosa, which is this white kind of powder that the babies are born with. Yeah, so I wanted to share the final portraits of each farm. So in the middle line, you have the team of facilitators. This is the third farm, so the last farm I conducted in Mediamatic. And then the front line and the back line is the participants. Then this is the second farm. You can see that the group was much smaller because we were really in these historical places and there were a lot of people. And it was the first time I was doing something like this. So we concluded, okay, it's better maybe to have a smaller group. And this is the first farm. So this is how I met Roberta. So you can actually see her here. Katy there, and then Luis and Marta that you saw today here with us today. And that's when I said in the beginning that it'll be nice to hear a few words from you. But before we go there, just to mention, so the front line is the facilitating team. So I am in the center. In the farm, I am the patrona because I am managing the production plant of the project. Then we have the farm fertilizer here. Do you see the mouse when I move?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have the weeding maiden. So it's about taking the weeds out of the landscapes of the abbeys. And then we have here the food animating operator. So the one in charge of the diet. And this one is a farm retratista in charge of archiving. So in each farm we have an archiver, and that's how it results that I can share with you all these images. So I thought that today is a special moment because when Roberta did this call out, we had Katy contacting us and also Luis and also Marta, and they wanted to be part of the workshop. And we thought, yeah, but they kind of know what's going on in the farm. So why not maybe just take this instance to hear a little bit from them? Because it's always interesting, I think, for you or for an external audience to hear from those that have passed through it so that you kind of grasp the reality of it, you know? And so I have a question for each one of you. And it's because I sent you an email and I said, just like answer from your heart, it doesn't need to be very elaborated, but more like a gut feeling, it'll be nice. And so I'll ask you something, and if you can answer in a few minutes, that'll be great. So I wanted to ask Luis, you first.
Okay.
Yes. So you are based in the UK, as you said in the beginning, and you came to the farm in Portugal. And I remember it was very beautiful to see your process. you know. So it will be interesting maybe if you would like to share that a bit, because you things happen to you, no? You went from one thing and then into another. So I don't know, maybe if you could share, like, yeah, how was a bit the process for you? And especially because you're also a mother of 4, no?
Yes, yes, I am. Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think when I arrived, I will share quite openly that I was very nervous. I didn't know what I was going to, it was the first farm and I didn't really know what I was going to expect and exactly what might happen. And I think I was also probably quite reserved. But I was also willing to be open to the process and open to what might come, literally. And there were some things that I chose not to do, but not many things that I chose not to do. And I think as I went through, what I found particularly interesting actually was a lot of the meditation and tantric exercises that we did, because I found them very opening and very calming and freeing and really helpful in relaxing into the whole experience. So those were really, really important moments for me. And the other thing that I can say, a couple of other things I can say is I kept a bit of a personal diary when I was there, which I think showed my sort of transition from, I mean, at the start, the personal diary was kind of full of expletives and what the am I doing, and and being slightly kind of, you know, yeah, unsure of the process. And then I think by the end, I was much more, I just felt more in tune with my body in ways I probably hadn't before. And then the other thing that I wanted to just say was that shortly after participating in the farm, I haven't had any more periods. So I have these, which are, oh, there you go, you can't see them. Very special to me now, and I'm probably never going to eat them, or at least I'm going to make sure I eat them only when I feel I really, really need to. They're like my my special pills now, because I'm no longer able to make my own. And so I'm very interested in some of the postmenopause aspects of the farm as well. I've probably talked too long. I don't know if I've answered your question, Isabel.
Yeah, but that's nice. It's nice to hear like that. And I'm very glad that you kept the pills. You know that there are some shamans that keep the sun-dried menstrual blood on the top of their batoon as they enter postmenopause, and they use it for specific formulas, you know. So maybe you put it in maybe you need your batoon now.
That's what I need to know. Yeah.
Okay, but that's nice. Thank you, Luis. Let me go now to Roberta. It will be interesting to hear, Roberta, like from the sexual agency somehow, like what happened to you after the farm was over in regards to your own sexuality?
Well, like one of the things that the farm did, well, besides all these discourses and chats about like production and producing all these quantities of stuff that like harvesting, and there was a little bit of like a constant, like at the beginning I thought I felt a little bit pressured, but there's a lot of knowledge that goes into it, and you get to know your body and you get to know how your body functions much better. And the other thing is well, in our case, I mean, I know that you, Isabel, want to also expand to men, but the fact that we were all women in one farm was a special moment of bond that actually made us know each other, but also know ourselves. So it was like an interior travel, and also yeah, like because you know your body much better, then also your sexual life improves, right? And that was like quite highlight for me. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm very curious to hear more, but we'll leave it like that. Kathy, it's really nice. You made it today. We know that you have a lot of deadlines at the moment, but it's nice that you're here.
Thank you.
Would you maybe share with us a little bit, because I remember you were saying, oh, I remember when you were seeing the fluids that were coming from you, kind of like assuring, oh yes, I have this, because you were in the first farm, one of the few that were in late menopause, I think, no? Entering post-menopause or something like this at the point, no?
Totally. Yeah. So there were 2 of us on the farm who had entered a postmenopausal period. I had actually been postmenopausal for a while. And I think I was the oldest person there. I'm not sure if that's right. And so it was really, and the other person had a hysterectomy, so was younger, but had, because of a total hysterectomy, had gone through also, a very sudden menopause, postmenopausal situation. And it was really interesting because, we had this, well, we also, I have to say, we just all felt so held by one another. I mean, certainly by you, Isabel, but also by one another, that there were a lot of surprises for each of us, but it was so beautiful to have this group where you could share them, because it felt very tight. I mean, we laughed, we cried, we shared a lot of things with each other during this period, and we were all nervous going into it. I totally agree with Louise. We were like, what the hell? And I've worked a lot with sex workers. I worked with Annie Sprinkle, who's now a big ecosexual, who's really wonderful and a dear friend, and for a long time ago was her filmmaker. And so I was very used to, talking about these things and looking at bodies and experiencing sex. That was not my fear as much as it was like, but what about this collection part? And then I was afraid, as you said, Isabel, because I was older, I was like, oh, what if I don't have anything? And so it was so cool because we were all in these tables together, in the collection tables. And Isabel had been so careful about having all of the instruments for us laid out, clean daily, laid out, so that we had our spaces and we were assigned our spaces. And then we would go in and we would each, like be taking we had a cervical cap per se that we were wearing during the night that we would take off to collect the fluids. Yeah. And exactly that. Yes. That we would collect the fluids and then deliver them to our patron. And it was so cool because, here I am thinking I'm this sort of, you're taught this, right? I'm this dried out old dame, which I know isn't really the case, but you still, internalize it. And there it was, all the fluids. So it was so beautiful for me to see it and to literally witness that, which you kind of know you're outputting some fluids, but to see the extent of it was really a joy. So I thank you for that opportunity. And I thank all of you who were there, because it was a really wonderful moment for all of us, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Yeah, for us, I remember I was really excited that you were coming because I knew this thing about the postmenopause fluid and how science is doing nothing about it. And I was super curious to see it,
Yeah, totally.
When you brought the fluid, we're like, yes, it's true.
I know. And it's something to be, once you observe it yourself, it's a really big affirmation, super big affirmation.
Yeah. Well, at one point you were all smelling each other, huh?
Yes, totally. Well, for me as a lesbian, that's okay. For some other people, maybe they hadn't done it so much before, so it was okay. I was like, this is great.
Yeah. Well, okay, thank you. It's nice to have you and to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so this is how more or less the harvesting hubs looks like. Like this is where we harvest daily fluids, for example. So you have your little cubicle with all the instruments you need. This is an ejaculation harvesting hub. This is the one that we installed in the last farm in the greenhouses. So there you have the housekeeper here giving the containers for a farm participant who is doing self-body technologies oriented to create ejaculation. And so that's what I showed you in my room, actually. And then we have a whole archiving process, right? So all the fluids are given and we have the farm archiver and we label them and then I freeze them. And so we have a total of 356 juices harvested out of the 3 farms. And these are the juices I use for making the products that we offer in the spa and that we will soon sell. So this is where we are now. I'm going to open a shop in December here in Brussels. With the COVID, things are very uncertain at the moment, but fortunately, we can still do kind of like a one-person gallery exhibition, and I can have online connection and also receive one-to-one client. And so the idea in this beauty kit shop is to have more than, have more like the massive kind of production question that you were posing. So the idea is to really activate the selling. So we activate this circular economy model that it's around it, that you see here. So it is based on a water. You see the image at the back? This is, it's a water power. So it's like what you put in the water and so it turns and it creates energy. And so this is a bit how the spectrum looks. It is based on the concept of human fluid exchange, right? Because participants agree to donate their fluids for the next generations of farmers to come. And here you can see like the different kinds of activities we have in the farm. We have resource breeding, resource disposal, resource exchanging, manufacturing, distributing, etc. So we are now working kind of like in the branding. This has been going on for a while now, but now we're taking decisions. So this is an image we're thinking that should be associated to Gina Bliss, the deep eruption line from the first farm. This one to the Oh Gloria. And this one to the Hey Babe.
Those are great.
So for a while, and now it's like the part I really wanted to have with you, and what we lost a few minutes in the beginning due to these technical things, but if those that can stay, it will be great to hear from you, because for a while, I have been asking the public in different communication moments, like whether we should call these products vegan or not, as I will also start selling them. And in so far, I've gotten like, quite interesting feedback. So I'm kind of moving forward with that question, but I have another question for you today, which is about like, as I mentioned, in Amsterdam, there are these shops, like you enter and they charge you 2,000 euros and you don't really know how the beauty product was made. But in some other shops you enter and they are very clear that are exploding bees. And so I put one product, I tested one, the seller put it on me and it was incredible. Like the wrinkle was gone in 1 second and they were working with the bee in such a way that made the product be 3,000 euros. So this is a little bit, it will be interesting maybe to discuss that with you today. So kind of like get impressions from you in like would you buy this product for a friend, or how expensive do you think these products should be? I did have in the last farm, the last time I made the spa, I had a 17-year-old girl coming to the spa and she brought one of the bottles, this bottle, and she wanted to buy it for her mother. So of course, if I'm selling this as art objects because I'm not part of the mainstream cosmetic industry and I'm not interested. And so we concluded that a way to sell it and kind of like to avoid any risk is to sell them as art objects. And of course, an art object can be fairly expensive, right? But if you have a 17-year-old girl wanting to buy it for her mother, you cannot charge a little girl 500 euros. So that's a little bit where we are. And that's why I started the whole presentation today, sharing with you kind of this passage from a more DIY into a more kind of product design level, because really the idea is to activate the economy model around it in a way, yeah, in which we still value the process behind. Because if you think about it, I mean, it's, you know, for 7 days, all these females together, it is quite luxurious as a product, but yet at the same time, a 17-year-old girl can buy it for her mother. So that's a little bit where I am. And I thought, because of all your backgrounds, that it might be an interesting question for today, to hear more from you. And also now that you have heard like the 3 products that you have, what they are about. So I don't know if you would like to share around these questions or other questions that you might have. Yes, Martine?
I love the idea of, you know, promoting it as vegan, but it's technically not vegan in a way, because it depends on the body it came from. Were they vegan? But maybe with that logo, adding something to represent like the female body to this sort of vegan logo with the leaf, so that it incorporates like it's plant, it's female, human, like incorporate those 2 things into the logo or into the packaging or ID of the series of products. Something that really acknowledges like that communal female incredible energy that went into making the product. Like, I don't want to see you lose that idea or that concept in the finished slick product, whether you sell it as an art object or if it goes commercial.
Related to the question of, is the product vegan? I think that it really depends on, are we thinking about veganism as something that doesn't involve any kind of animal product, or are we thinking about veganism as something that does not involve the unconsensual exploitation of another being? And if that's the case, well, then this product would be vegan, because these are consenting participants. Now, if this were to scale in a capitalist kind of way, and it were to then involve exploitation, then it could no longer be considered vegan, in my view anyway.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to jump in on that and the question of the economy and how much you want to stay in and out of producing these as commodities. Because the moment you produce them as commodities, you get into scale economy, you get into the question of, with the finished product and the consumptive aspect of the product starts having a greater weight than the processual aspect of the kind of reciprocities of exchange that happen with these bodily fluids going back on the body. What struck me about the things that participants from previous farms were saying is also the cultivation, the ritual aspect of the farm, and how in fact it is close, not exclusively to questions of labor and to question of scientific experimentation, but also to, if you want to put it, to the sacred. And hence, to some extent, incommensurable with market forces. So I like the way in which you are talking about it as art objects. And because of the ambiguity of the art object as both, you know, a product, in a capitalist economy, a product of consumption, but also a place of symbolic exchange or symbolic rethinking and I do think that you might want to be very careful about how you go about the marketing strategy in terms of, or even the spa thing, like really drawing, it's more, I would think it's more about drawing the people in, like I would, quote unquote, sell this agriculture as a, you know, you're cultivating ritual, you're cultivating also one's own skill to sensitivity, sensitize oneself to the more than human in one's body and those different aspects and how the pleasure relates to that, and not just to the risk. What I'm saying is that the risk of presenting it as beauty kit is that you go back to kind of the visual economy of the product, as opposed to really insisting on the haptic, the tactile, the other aspects that don't lend themselves so easily to being commodified. So when someone like a girl comes and says, I would like to buy it, what the question of the price becomes an exchange, a negotiation that is individual, not necessarily scaled up to mass production. Like, I don't see this going into mass production if it wants to, in fact, continue to cultivate, in fact, that not just the product, but what the product does in terms of processes of reciprocities, of communities that come together, and so forth. Am I making sense?
Totally. No, it's I like this idea of negotiation on a one-to-one, and also just to be clear, like, there is no way I can. When I say upscaling, I'm talking about like 5 bottles per product, you know. So it is an artisanal production also, you know. And the fact, I think you pointed, the fact that I'm selling them as art objects makes a difference as well. I'm playing a little bit with the hyper identification, because the impulse of this little girl will say, yes, it's a product. It's like the product I buy in a beauty shop, you know. But then the question is, what does the product contain, my dear, you know, and what it will really create on your mother. You know, because in that case, maybe she's a bit young, but she will arrive with that home, and that object will change the synergy of the locality it inhabits immediately. And I see this happening in the spa. It's very powerful, but I'm playing with the notions of seduction and desire that are present in the market to seduce an audience, for sure. And this happens, as I said, in the spa, but they're absorbing the benefits of a process that actually queers our production process.
Yeah.
You know, we are working with the notions of repetition, for example, that happens in a production plant, to benefits from what repetitions could do to the body, which is at the base a ritual perspective, for sure.
Just following up on that, I have a very good question from YouTube. Do you think the commercialization of farm products might sacrifice the purpose? And could you ethically put a price on someone's pleasure and results? It's very much connected, right? Thanks so much for asking the question.
Thank you, but maybe this person missed the part that it is based on a human fluid exchange model.
No, but it's someone's pleasure, right? So like it is about that, the question.
Yeah, I mean, you can price anything you want as long as there is the consent of the laborer, right? So the laborer has agreed to enter that economy. And now but this is the question that I still haven't solved and then Elena is giving a really good idea that maybe the price should be negotiated on a one-to-one basis also. So kind of like, it's a case study every time.
Yeah, and we're still here. Like, the problem is, so I think that the question, can you put a price on pleasure, and how do you negotiate this kind of price is actually very important, right? So like I think we're all there. Like I think we don't disagree on that. Like the questions that are coming from YouTube are actually like in line with this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I also have a question, because I also make some sort of like botanical beauty products, and I'm a designer, and it's difficult to like put a price, especially in this type of economy, to something that has so much value. But at the same time, I think it's very important to to ask ourselves, what's the message? Like, what do we promote here with selling this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, people, you can buy a product because you understand the feminist premise behind. So for example, if there was Madonna, like sorry, that's another way of buying it, because you like, you know, the person behind and you want to have the object because it contains, but then another one is, you know, the cost. Right? So you contribute to a cost, because the fact that the farm actually, because it sounds weird for you that I say that it has no costs for participants, but actually what happens at the end of almost every farm we've done is that at the end of the farm, they want to pay us. Because the level of self-transformation or even transmutation that happens when you bring a group of females that have agreed to research on their female abbeys, you know, a space that withhold historical injustice from time immemorial, right? So the level of like, everybody takes their bliss potential one step forward, let's say. And what I mean by bliss potential is kind of like seeing maybe some traumas that may emerge and how the process actually via self-pleasure and orgasm becomes power. So trauma becomes power, you know? And so, yeah, I got lost.
No, you totally made sense.
Yeah.
Isabel, can I ask, how do you tell the story of the farm and the various farms to people when they just kind of walk in? Like, what is the sort of short version? Because obviously it's not an easy story to tell. It's just complex.
Yeah, like the pitch, you mean? Yeah, it's cognitive pleasure-oriented farm that harvests female erotic juices to produce eco-erogenous para-pharmaceutics. Sorry, it cannot be simpler than that.
No, that's great. I just think then you probably get people asking you to unpack that a little bit.
Totally, but this creates conversation.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Were you still asking a question, Kathy?
Do you want to check maybe the questions on the side? Maybe pick on one more, and then I can like wrap it up with few images I want to show you.
Yeah, because we are losing people, so.
I mean, going back to the art object, I think you also can be can play it strategically, again, depending on the quality of the relation you engage in with whoever is doing the buying. I mean, I think the point is to do as much as we can to, in fact, draw. I can see also this work as being about drawing the products themselves out of the idea of them being finished products, but of being, in fact, parts of an ongoing chain of relations.
Yeah.
And hence the price might be like it's not an absolute, like it is a temporary, agreed upon valuation of a moment, but it's a valuation that knows its own limits, that this quantification will never be enough. In that sense, like you're actually also, I think, working on underscoring the transformative effect of the product as opposed to being an object of consumption of an object.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that there's, maybe this girl kind of like had this kind of symptomatic reaction to the product, but
well, there's a certain generation that only knows that, right? We also have to deal with the fact that we are produced as consumers primarily these days. So a way to kind of seduce someone in, I like that strategy. But maybe there could be a way of wording the products in terms of like
I think the person that would buy it, for me, what makes it more interesting is that they understand what they're contributing to, because all the all the income will be put into really the farm infrastructure. So it's not really a company that will make gains, surpluses. What is the name?
Profits.
Profits. It's really just like oriented to be able to finance a process, actually.
Because it's like not just the product, it's also the community and the bond that is being made and the groups that are being formed, right?
Yeah, because like I have gotten, I am fortunate to have received financial support from cultural institutions to be able to do this project, right? But at some points I have overpassed like the costs of the farm, you know? So I have put a lot of volunteering work also into it, and also my colleagues. And my feeling has been, yeah, but I mean, it's so much work that it does make sense also to create an economy that is totally sustainable around it, you see? Because actually who's being exploded, I tell you, like the facilitating team, the patrona, like, you know what I mean? So
you're
like,
not a good boss.
That's also a bit the idea, you know, like kind of like this monetary independence to have a project going that brings all this good, right? That is the intention of this, so that it continues, as I said, being free, because I'm also interested. It's very difficult to, how do you say, I would say that what we're learning in the farm, because I put my research on the table, and then from there it completely grows, right? Yeah, so it's also about this kind of trans-individual knowledge production. So that's like another value to the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the diagrams are really great. The one where you show kind of towards the end.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking about all of these new eco-bio companies, and they show you their model. Yeah, that one I thought was really fascinating. And so, like, just comparing with other more eco product lines and the way that they're challenging more capitalist models of production, and that's what you're doing. I mean, it's the whole ecosystem that you've created, which is really, really interesting. So the product, yes, it's interesting, and it has this impact, like it does really work, but the whole system is phenomenal and amazing. And I think that what I find that to be so incredibly interesting, and when you outline it and you make that visible to consumers, I think that's also what's really interesting. And that's what companies are trying to do, right? To state that, oh, we're very sustainable, we're going to make our business model completely transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the model is really fascinating.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there time for another question? I'm gonna have to leave soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe let's have the last, and then we can wrap up. Yes.
We can wrap up, yes.
Okay. There's like a lot of pressure on that last question. I don't know if it makes sense yet, so
Go,
please
Sarah,
bear with
you
me.
can take it.
So what I was wondering is thinking about one of the most like emergent but like obvious ways this could be recuperated by capitalism would be through chemical or biological synthesis. You know, like scientists like sort of like figuring out all the molecules and the compounds that make up the bodily fluids and being like, we're gonna do away with women's bodies altogether and just like put that in the laboratory and like make as much as we want of it, right? And you get that in like a fair amount of other products, like for example, vanilla or like saffron, like anything that's like very highly valuable on the market, but that you can't get enough of is like a prime target for like patenting by big like biopharmaceutical companies to make tons of money out of without having to, you know, use the plant whatsoever. And so at the same time, what I'm thinking is one of the things that is actually very hard to synthesize in the lab is very complex aromatic compounds. Notably like those body fluidic compounds, but you know, like another very obvious example would be like when you sear onion on a pan and there's this like Maillard reaction happening, like thousands, like hundreds of different compounds and reactions are going on at the same time. Like I'm thinking about like that sort of complexity as something that is very hard to make by humans, you know, for all the things that we're able to reproduce and to synthesize, like fake images, like smells and aromas, and like highly complex fluids such as those are actually hard to make. So I see something in there where there's this way of like circumventing this kind of recuperation, sorry, by maybe having something that could be like a hybrid or something in between the sort of like more DIY approach of like doing it yourself, like doing your own collection, and on the other hand, having those available as like art products, or thinking about commercializing them would be to say stand in the middle and offer this as an experience where, you know, people like you and I could formulate and create our own lines of beauty products and make it a very personal thing, and have the ability to, you know, offer it to say lovers and very like, but you know, people that you would like to exchange these things with. And so there could be like significant like value, something that isn't recuperable, perhaps in there. But
Yeah.
that's it. It wasn't quite like a question. I'm sorry.
A comment, but it's nice. I mean, in the farm, I do hand out all the formulas on how to make the product. So when they go, they can do whatever they want with it, you know?
That's wonderful.
They can share with their lovers or their daughters, you know, or their friends, or like that's a bit the idea.
Exactly. Because they have this like highly, you know, educational experience, and in addition, like they can decide what to do with it. Like they can, you know, you can extend that line of questioning to them too. Like, do you want to sell that? Do you want to resell that on the market for a high price? Like, how do you feel towards that? You know?
Yeah, but I mean, that's a bit like, yeah, like it's a bit, but what's interesting about your comment, it makes me think of the women that are renting their wombs. You know, because in that case, it's like if you want to make your products with your own vaginal fluids for selling them, for getting money for yourself, that's another question, no? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's an interesting question also, if you think on poverty. And I've been pondering a lot about this. I was contacted once by a community in Brazil. It's a feminist running like a communal situation in a favela, and she was asking me like whether we could do a workshop, and then eventually never happened. But it really made me think about that, you know, that it might serve in purpose. Like if you don't think of on the established kind of reigning economical system, but you really go local and you have poverty, you know, and you hand them like maybe how to make sure that you harvest in the right way, that you sell the products. It's like artisanal product selling, basically, you know. It can be. Maybe that's a next farm to be done, you know?
That's amazing.
Yeah. And we would totally love to be in the next farm whenever we can meet again in real life. Soon, hopefully.
Yeah. So let me just finish with this, which is like where we are at right now, because Roberta mentioned the male farm. Here. So for me, and also in regard to what's happening with COVID, I mean, of course, as an artist, I entered in a crisis at one point, because this makes you question everything about like, what the hell are you doing as a human being on this planet, and as a kind of creator, communicator, like, what are you really trying to say, you know? And I was already thinking about the catastrophe in which we're living in, as most of you, I imagine, are doing the same. But I've been thinking on this idea of the village. So this, I just want you to look at this image, because the idea was to have a village, so it's a beauty kit village, or maybe we'll have another name, in the Atacama Desert, which is the driest space on the earth, and it's located in the north of Chile. Because I told you in the beginning that I'm half Chilean, half Belgian. So I've had the chance to be there, and it's an incredible space, actually. You are like right under the stars. It's the best space on earth to watch the stars. And what interests me also is that the driest space on earth. So I wanted to start developing a village there that could be completely self-sustainable. So from harvesting water to cultivating, to making an architecture that is in complete symbiosis with the local environment. And that's when we're expanding into other bodies. So I have male friends that kind of got jealous because how come I'm not doing the male farm, right? And then also trans friends that are saying, hey. And then of course, there's a lot of questions in regards to how binary this project is and how non-binary it is. But finally, for me, it's important to focus, and I know it's problematic, but in the organs themselves. So in regards to the female body, is the organs pertaining to that body, and in regards to the male body, the same. And then you have the body in transformation, regardless of the sexual orientation. But I decided to go through that research process so to get to the village. Because, for example, the male farm actually is not going to focus in male ejaculation, because I'm really not interested in that, like as of what male ejaculation has done to the construction of the system we live in. And also because it's not very healthy for a male body to ejaculate from a Taoist perspective. And it will be more about harvesting different kinds of energies. And one of them is harvesting the electricity that is produced with brain orgasm. So that will be an exploration in the male farm. And then the trans farm is more an exploration on hormones. So how to create specific devices and how to potentiate hormones that are in a process to harvest these hormones for making products that can be immediately shared. And so the idea is to go through that process to arrive to designing this village, right? And so the idea of the village is that we're going to be harvesting everybody. And that, for example, this village could be lightened up by the males having brain orgasms, you know? So we create like a whole electrical system with males producing electrical currents through brain orgasm. For example, just to give you an idea, and yes, talking about the crisis, right? It is really about like, what am I doing in the city also at this point? Because now here in Brussels, we're starting with the second lockdown because the second wave is hard on there. Like the death numbers are rising. So I'm like, we don't know how long this process is gonna last. There are certain predictions from like Western and non-Western perspectives. Like we can be 4 years in this, and maybe when it's over, another one will come. So I'm like, I'm going to start a new phase in this project. So after the shop, that's a big idea, you know, like to focus really in this village and make it happen and have you all come.
Yes.
You know, like, because it's like we're eating up the earthly resources. So we better be quick, you know, in understanding how to manage this. So this is really the village for me, you know. That we create some kind of like an ongoing experimental center where everybody can come and from their own practice, maybe we potentiate this idea, you know, also. I think, because I don't know, also with how like the full on, I don't know, kind of centralized control or something like this, that it feels like, you know, how the states are gaining power in the personal life of people. So the exile for me is, I mean, I know that we know staying with the trouble, right? Stay with the trouble, yes. But then I thought maybe I stay with the trouble, but then I also go to the Atacama Desert and there I develop a technology and then I bring it back, you know? because we're drying up the world also, and that's the important thing of the Atacama Desert. You know, if you manage to create a village that, you know, can't survive in a space where there are actually little natural resources, you know, you're kind of starting to be ready for a near future, I think. So that's where I am.
That's part of your pitch. Do it.
And Stephanie has a name, the Vulvan Village. Stephanie, was it Stephanie?
Really? That's super
Vulvan Village.
Vulvan Village. The whole thing with the YN, like women. Yes, we can do all that.
So I think we are kind of more than over time, but well, this is
yeah.
I've been developing for the male farm and the trans farm. So here you have like a machine that is collecting this brain orgasm. And there is my email for those that somebody was asking. So
I will make sure that the people who
send me your emails also, you know, it'll be nice. Maybe Roberta, I can send them an email. You know,
yeah, I will send an email to everybody thanking for this, also including people who maybe are not included here, because some of the people have been following and they were not technically in the workshop. So please send me a message or an email to artsalon@gmail.com so that I can include you in the list.
Great. Yeah, and for the workshop participants that took the pill or that still have it or that tried the cream or that has the spray, and it would be great to, if something happens that you would like to share, because I'm sure something will happen.
Yes, we will. We have recorded this, so we will eventually make it available for people to watch. I mean, right now it's on YouTube, but like only like it's cut. Like I think the first 10 minutes were cut because YouTube did its own thing. I don't know what it did,
but we will let you know, because maybe we will put it in Vimeo also.
Yeah, exactly. And we have the full recording in on Zoom, so on the U of T. So. Yeah.
But thank you so much for your incredible feedbacks. I mean, when I say that you really influence me at this point, when I share my work, you do. I take everything you say. And also, I think, I mean, it's, of course, we are here as an instance for dialogue and thinking together, no?
Yeah.
And thank you, Isabel. And
thank you so much.
I think this was the most intriguing laser we ever had.
And we had many people watching on YouTube and on Facebook. So like people were watching even if we started late. So I feel a little bit better now.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful workshop. Stay safe and thank you so much for joining.
Important. You see there, Ramon Bur is my father, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank you so much for joining and supporting your daughter.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.